Hopefully this time I'm not too close to the mic. So, since last time, after sort of collecting my thoughts, I really started believing that right now we're probably living in the greatest time possible, in the sense that we get to see why humans have destroyed each other over and over and over again. And it is getting to a point where it will be irreversible, where the instability will keep perpetuating itself, and we will not recover from this. I hope we don't, to be honest. What are we recovering to achieve? Since I'm incredibly terminally online, especially for the past 7 years, 7 years around there, I've been incredibly terminally online. And it's only been the last year or two where this fat acceptance movement, healthy at every size, I just call it obesity acceptance movement, has flooded every possible screen you can find. And there's something so poetic about it. Amidst the insane levels of entitlement, petulance, self-victimization in a context where it doesn't exist, I found it incredibly poetic that the West is literally eating itself alive. If you think about it, it really is the most fitting nail in the coffin of the most self-indulgent ideologies to ever take hold on this species. I come from a developing country. I've never been in the ghetto, in the streets, or anything of that matter. My parents are decently well off. But it doesn't really block your eyes out to see how people suffer incredible amounts of pain, and not even just pain, just people are living horror stories out here. So many people are just living in horror stories right in front of us. And we just have accepted it. And when it starts creeping in on our minds that, this is actually kind of fucked up, we try and rationalize it, right? We try and rationalize it and sort of vindicate ourselves of any responsibility to it, even though we are the main perpetuators of these lies. You don't see kids here starving with their ribs and flies buzzing all around them, all the CGI flies buzzing all around them like the NGOs like to portray them. You do. Well, you at least in the more urbanized areas, you don't really see it as much. If you go to the rural, the very underdeveloped, very deserted areas, you will. But hunger doesn't really have one face. And it doesn't even have to be just a hunger from food. It could be a hunger for shelter, for it could be a thirst, there's definitely water shortages. It could be a lack of school fees. It could be a lack of adequate healthcare, you name it. But to keep on the point of this video, I love this obesity movement. Obesity movement. Because it just shows that whatever almost utopia that we've been brainwashed to believe in exists, this is how it ends. Obesity has always been associated with wealth. The rich, the people who had the most access to food, or the most regular access to food, to the detriment of the majority. And I wouldn't even just fault it on Western countries. Even like a lot of developing countries, these ideas are everywhere, right? It just depends on to what degree they're there. And this, at least this strain, the strain of this movement, the most prevalent strain of it, is just so emblematic of everything we've been brainwashed into. We've basically been brainwashed to believe that we are the main characters in our own story. When you don't own the book, you don't own the pen, you don't even own the pages of that book. And yet somehow you're the one writing your own story. I watch a lot of these fat acceptance cringe videos, and some part of me just can't get enough of seeing how disgustingly victimized and just, I know the word has been abused so much, but it is narcissistic behavior. The most malignant kind of narcissistic behavior. To hear the most privileged class of people in the world talk about how they're marginalized and how they're subjugated because they just can't control their fucking urges to put the fork and knife down. That they love quoting that there's the diet industry, the American diet industry is worth $75 billion. And I laugh every time because I ask, what about the $1 trillion fast food industry, or the food industry in general, but particularly the fast food industry that has biochemically engineered their food to be as addictive as humanly possible? How do you live in such a bubble that you want to craft any sort of narrative that prevents you from accepting even the most marginal control over your life? And I say marginal control because what exactly is a control over your life? Put it outside of the context of things you can do with your own self-control. What is the point? What exactly are you taking control of? There's nothing that you can do. There's nothing socially acceptable about exiting this place when you see fit, because there hasn't been enough resource extraction from your brain and your body to make everybody feel comfortable, whether it's your family, your friends, your bosses, government officials, you name it. We're only here to have as much life extracted out of us. So when I talk about marginal control, I talk about it in the sense that we, at least on this side, of YouTube have captured a growing fragment of people who have realized that there is nothing we are working towards. We're not walking off the ledge. We fell off the ledge at the time that we were born. That's when we fell off the ledge. We're not sheep or lemmings walking off the ledge. We are off the ledge. We were thrown off it when we were born, and we're just huddling down and pretending to ourselves like, oh yeah, I'll definitely grow wings, or I'll wait for the wind to switch, and I can probably grab onto a rock, or I can probably pull the person above me downwards so I can keep getting back up, so I can just grab onto the ledge again. That's the situation we're in right now. Everyone. I think the phrase almost utopia is going to feature a lot in the things I say, because that's what that is pretty much the only viable option that humanity has on whatever political spectrum you lie, right? They'll say, go to the far left and it's, oh, everyone should have healthcare, shelter and all that. You go to the far right, they're saying the same thing, only for a particular group of people, right? They all have envisioned almost utopia. And even though we live in a world post World War I and World War II kind of world, and you still have people chasing almost utopia. I heavily criticize the Western world, even though I've lived in it quite a while. I heavily criticize it because it was a suicide mission to begin with. How far could you spread human greed and just idealize yourself when you yourself are crumbling? You see these people every day. Maybe you don't say anything to them, but in your mind, you've already acknowledged that certain people have vastly more wealth than you do. They have vastly more resources in general than you do. And subconsciously, you have to convince yourself that in order to make it in the system, you have to be like them. You have to chase what they have. You have to, how do I even put it? It's the way I said obesity was only afforded to the very wealthy. Kings were fat as fuck. Nobility was fat as fuck. Even the disease of gout was commonly associated with the wealthy because it was also associated with obesity. Now, it's no longer, well, I can't even say no longer. It's making a comeback, right? It's making a comeback, right? With the healthy at every size movement. But at least for the last maybe 30, 40, 50 years, it's been get in shape, look beach body ready and all that kind of stuff. That has been the ideal, right? From the previous ideal of, well, I wouldn't say it was an ideal, but it was the ideal that people strive towards. You in a time where most people couldn't even find a loaf of bread to eat, you're seeing the nobility and the kings and queens and the princes, like at least a decent amount of them are just incredibly well fed, right? Even overly well fed. And you human standards are the most self-deprecating bullshit you could ever come up with. I guess I'm still trying to get my thoughts together, because I've seen way too much of this bullshit to keep pretending to myself like, oh yeah, maybe they did this, but I'll just do this and I'll be better. Like, you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to fix this system or the ideologies underpinning this system, because it was not created for your benefit. It was not created for the benefit of 99% of humanity. Any human, really, but, the richer you are, the more likely you are to throw other people under the bus to sort of prolong the fact that we're all just going to die in the same way. Or at least the state of death, right? People die in a fucking million different ways, but, that is something that will never escape any human. And we've found so many different ways to escape that reality. Escapism. That's what it is. That's why this movement gets under my skin so fucking badly, because all it is escapism. You're escaping the fact that you have no control. See, the thing is, this movement did a few good things in that it's getting people to start understanding that they do not have any control in this life, right? You don't. But they're doing it in the sense that because they don't have any control, they must burden other people because of it. They must shame other people. They must glorify themselves and deprecate other people, while also maintaining that it's them who actually deprecate the other side, or the side that they're on. You must become as big of a burden as you possibly can to everyone around you. All because you can't accept that it's time to just check out of the system. Just check out of your programming, right? It's easy enough to say to check out of something like that, but you can't go around expecting other people to run your life for you. But people still do it anyways. People in power still do it anyways. And it just seems to me like we're gonna have to do a lot. The human species is going to go through a lot of destruction and savagery at a time when we're supposedly the most enlightened beings. We're the most educated, informed, and blah, blah, blah. And yet, there's global recessions incoming. There's all kinds of illnesses coming. There's all kinds of just psychological crises coming. And yet somehow someone still finds the time to stuff their fucking face and play victim about it online. Don't you just love the freedom and liberty we have? I'll try and be more articulate as the recordings go forward. I might even try and write a small script or something. My thoughts are very scattered. If you actually listened all the way through, man, thanks a lot. But for now, just enjoy the show.